Welcome back everyone to Formula One Transfer Talk, your show where we discuss all of the rumours, all of your driver transfers from the world of Formula One. But in today's episode, we're going to be setting up a brand new season of Formula One Transfer Talk as we end the 2021 season and start to look forward to 2022. We're going to be talking about Valtteri Bottas, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, even a bit of Romain Grosjean. But before we do any of that over the next few weeks, let's talk about 2022. Let's talk about this jigsaw puzzle that is the 2022 grid and see how the pieces not only are starting to line up, but also the extra spicy bit from today's video, my predictions for the 2022 Formula One grid. So as always, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoy, hit that like button. But I think a good place to start are the teams keeping things the same in 2022. I know it's a bit boring. We like to see driver transfers. We love to see teams mixing things up. But quite frankly, they don't really like to do that as much as we think. And in reality, most of the teams for next season are going to be the same as what we have now. The 2020 silly season was a bit bonkers, a bit mad, and as a result of that, teams heading into a brand new period of regulation in 2022 are keeping things similar to 2021. Teams, I think, are going to be guaranteed to stay with their lineup they currently have. First up is Haas, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, two rookies this year. Schumacher, a Formula 2 champion, Mazepin, a multiple race winner in Formula 2. And though I believe Haas could really benefit from an experienced driver alongside Schumacher, whether that's someone like a Kevin Magnussen that they got rid of a couple of years ago, like a Nico Hülkenberg, hey, even a Kimi Räikkönen, in reality, I don't think they're going to be moving on either of their 2021 drivers. Ferrari are in a similar position. Charles Leclerc has the longest contract in Ferrari history, a 5-year deal signed last year. He's their talisman. He is their superstar. He's not going anywhere. And Carlos Sainz, their new driver for 2021, I think he's been pretty awesome. For me, Carlos Sainz has been one of the biggest surprises of the year so far, and just like at Haas, I don't see Ferrari changing anything for next season. Aston Martin, I know another team keeping things the same. Obviously, Lance Stroll, with his connections to the ownership of the team, he's not had the best of seasons. Actually, I think he's been a step down this year from what we saw last season at Racing Point. However, with that pole position in Turkey, with that podium at the end of last year in Bahrain and Monza last year as well, there's potential there, and I don't see him going anywhere. And Sebastian Vettel, that big move from Ferrari last year to join Aston Martin, so far has been a big success. Technically two second place finishes, one at Baku, one last time out in Hungary before that disqualification that is under review at this moment in time. Either way, it's been a solid start for life in green for Sebastian, and I don't see Aston changing anything. McLaren are another team I think are going to keep things the same, with Lando Norris having the season of his life. This man is on fire. He has been so good this year, third in the standings, in front of Bottas, in front of Perez, and comfortably in front of teammate Ricciardo. But I don't see Daniel going anywhere. It's not been the greatest start to life in McLaren. Check a video I did out last week to see more on that. But I still think there's been glimpses of that potential, glimpses of the old Danny Rick. And I think once he's got a full season under his belt, and don't forget, once we've got that new regulations in place next season, I think he's the perfect driver to have alongside Norris. And I think McLaren as a team is the best place for Ricciardo to be. No changes at McLaren. And the final team I am confident will keep things the same next season, especially after last weekend, is Alpine. Fernando Alonso coming alive in the Hungarian Grand Prix, and Esteban Ocon only went and won his first Grand Prix. Why would they change anything? Well, the only question mark little asterisk I would put next to Alpine is since the team's return in 2016, 5 years ago, they've not kept the same driver lineup. They've changed at least one of their drivers every single season. And in all honesty, they can be a bit ruthless. That being said, I still think they'll keep things the same next year. Alonso aiming to be back at his best. Ocon hoping to continue to learn from Fernando and also to now build on that momentum of winning his first Grand Prix. There may be drivers on the market next year that they will keep their eye on, but for now, I think they will keep things the same for 2022. 5 teams down, 5 to go. Those 5 teams we've already mentioned, Haas, Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren and Alpine, I am all very confident will stay the same. But there are a few teams, God, I'm just not too sure about. And I think the elephant in the room here is Red Bull Racing. Currently with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. And if 10 seconds ago I was willing to say Renault/Alpine can be ruthless, what on earth does that make Red Bull Racing when it comes to driver switches? The most ruthless team on the grid. And Sergio Perez, who has joined the team this year, has had an okay start to life at Red Bull. Of course, picked up that victory in Baku, but at the last 3 races, Hungary, not at all his fault, but a difficult weekend in Silverstone, a very poor weekend in Austria. I'm starting to wonder whether question marks are starting to be in the head of Christian Horner, more importantly, Helmut Marko, and with Pierre Gasly having another incredible season at AlphaTauri, of course, also got a podium in Baku. Could there be a little switch on the horizon for next season? Now, I think for this to come into play, Perez is going to have a real stinker of a second half of the season. Red Bull aren't too willing to give Gasly that second chance, and in an ideal world for Red Bull, they want to keep Perez. He's a multiple race winner now. He's someone you know you can depend upon as one of the most consistent drivers in Formula 1, and though we've not quite seen that just yet in Red Bull colours, they will hope they can get that out of him by the end of the year. If not, and if Gasly does continue to drive like he has been doing for the last 2 seasons, maybe there's a switch on the horizon. It's something I want to explore in a bit more detail in a future episode of Transfer Talk, but for now, right this moment, I think Perez will just about keep the seat. Having seen how this boy can drive in Formula 1 over the last 10 years, he deserves to be in a top team, and coming off 3 difficult races, the summer break came at the perfect time for Checo. Recharge those batteries, fingers crossed Bottas doesn't crash you out in the first lap of Spa, and hopefully start to rebuild that season where we saw double podiums at Baku and Paul Ricard. So Red Bull keeping things the same also for 22, but a bit of an asterisk because Pierre Gasly is on fire. This also pretty much leads into my thinking with AlphaTauri, who I also think will keep things the same, but that asterisk on Gasly is very much there. I believe Pierre is more than good enough of a driver to be in a better team than AlphaTauri. Those opportunities next year aren't really available with Alpine, Aston Martin, McLaren, all having their doors well and truly shut. The only other place, again, I could see him going is Red Bull, or if he really wanted to take a gamble, go to Williams. But for now, I think he will stay put. I think Yuki Tsunoda has had his moments this year, brilliant and also not so good. But overall, when you balance things out, there's been enough glimpses of potential that I think Yuki deserves that chance to be at AlphaTauri next year. But again, it's going to depend, first of all, on Formula 2, how well Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson perform, because I think if either of those can win the championship in what technically is both of their rookie seasons, I think Red Bull will have some thinking to do. And I think at that point, they will then question Tsunoda or not, Gasly or not, and just to make things that extra more complicated when it comes to Red Bull and AlphaTauri, don't forget Alex Albon. I don't think he's out of the running to be an AlphaTauri seat, but I think it does depend on if Gasly goes to Red Bull. If Gasly's on his way to Red Bull, I think Alex will come back to AlphaTauri, but if Gasly stays put, I think Alex's chance at Formula 1 will be very slim after next season. Only 3 more to go, and 2 of them pretty much come in hand. Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton signing that 2-year deal at the start of this year. But the big question mark is who will be alongside him. Valtteri Bottas, who's now been with the team for 4 seasons, has had a difficult start to 2021. No victories since Sochi last season, only 2 last year, none so far in 2021. However, has been a crucial part in securing the Constructors' Championships for Mercedes over those 4 years. The other option, as you all know, is George Russell. Mercedes' young driver there, potential future superstar, has now entered his final year at Williams under contract and next season will be a free agent. With Bottas' deal also running out at Mercedes at the end of this year, I think it's a perfect time for George Russell to get the step up. Points in Hungary, finally he scored points. However, Latifi also scored points and did outscore his teammate over the course of the weekend. But George Russell has shown what he can do, not only in a Williams Formula 1 car, but also a Mercedes Formula 1 car. Last year at the Sakhir Grand Prix, less than a 10th off pole position, and should have, would have, could have won that Grand Prix if not for a calamitous pit stop from the Mercedes crew. I think Russell is at a stage not only where he deserves to have that Mercedes seat, but also if he doesn't, other teams like Red Bull, like Ferrari, like Aston Martin may just try and get ahead of Mercedes, steal George away, and I think with Valtteri not quite being able to challenge for the title over the last few years, with Hamilton potentially retiring in the next couple of years, George Russell for me has to be in that Mercedes seat for next season. And for Valtteri, a driver who I still believe is one of the best on the grid, has still got plenty of potential to win races and be a team leader in Formula 1, where does he go? There's not many options, but I do think a straight swap with George Russell to return back to Williams, the team he made his debut with in 2013, and a team very much on the road to recovery. I think Valtteri would be the perfect fit for Williams, who will definitely be in search of a team leader once George Russell leaves. I will just mention Red Bull could be an option for Bottas if they deem Gasly not ready to make that step back up and Perez still isn't performing on the level they're hoping for. But in all honesty, why would Red Bull abandon Perez, a driver who spent a year in that car, which is difficult to drive in itself, and bring in Bottas, who struggled at Mercedes, and also, just like Gasly, Albon and potentially Checo, will also struggle in that Red Bull car? Doesn't work for me, and I think Williams is a good fit for Valtteri next year. Alongside him, I'm going to go with Nicholas Latifi, but I don't think this is as nailed on as people think. Dorilton and Jos Capitão, the team principal of Williams, both hinting that the driver choice next year is their decision and is not money based. The team doesn't need that anymore. Dorilton have come in, they've saved them, and with a potential 8th place finish in the constructors' standings on the horizon, it wouldn't surprise me all that much if there is indeed a driver switch. Latifi did get a 7th place this weekend, and that would be mightily unfair if they did get rid of him. But with drivers like Gasly, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, even Nick de Vries, who could potentially be Formula E world champion next weekend, with all of these guys on their radar and more, Formula 2, if there's a champion there that doesn't get a drive in F1, Guan Yu Zhou, Callum Ilott from last season, Robert Schwartzman, if these guys don't end up getting a seat, Williams may just take the gamble. I'm going to play it safe, which I know isn't like me. I'm going to say Bottas and Latifi, but again, it wouldn't be all that surprising if they did make a change. And finally, your final team in today's video, Alfa Romeo. For me, the reason I've done Alfa Romeo last is these guys have time. These guys have so many options. I think they should wait till the end of the season. See where Valtteri Bottas is going. Is Raikkonen staying for an extra year or going Ferrari? Who do they want in that Ferrari seat? Because don't forget, One seat at Alfa Romeo is owned by Sauber, the other is owned by Ferrari. Is Giovinazzi, does he have a good enough season to warrant staying first of all in that Ferrari seat, or is he good enough to keep in the Sauber seat? More importantly, the crucial part of who Alfa Romeo picks next season is Formula 2. Ferrari potential superstar Robert Schwartzman, if he wins the title this year, I think he deserves to be in the Alfa Romeo. If Théo Pourchaire wins Formula 2 in his rookie season, a Sauber junior driver, I think he also deserves to be in Formula 1 next season. And the lineup of Pourchaire and Schwartzman, oh my god, that would be bonkers. That'd be such a good lineup to have. But you've got to play the rest of the field. You've got to work out if you want that bit of experience. Do you want Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, bring back Kevin Magnussen, Perez and Bottas? What are they doing? Or do you want youth? And don't forget Callum Ilott. Their reserve driver this year has done multiple FP1 sessions, vice champion of Formula 2 last year, and also a driver, a Ferrari junior with plenty of potential. It's an impossible task. Right now, not knowing how the rest of Formula 2 is going to go this year, my heart says Robert Schwartzman and Théo Pourchaire. My head says Antonio Giovinazzi will move to the Sauber seat, Raikkonen retires, and Callum Ilott will take the Ferrari junior seat. This in turn gives Pourchaire an extra season in Formula 2 if he needs it to prove himself, and kind of to the detriment of Robert Schwartzman, also gives him an extra year in Formula 2 to potentially win that title, but just like Ilott, could give him that extra year to develop as a reserve driver at Alfa Romeo and then come on board in 23 once Alfa Romeo have decided if they want to keep Giovinazzi or if they want to keep Callum Ilott. And that's it. That's your grid. There are your drivers. It's not as... I'll admit, it's not as bonkers as I've gone in the past, but I would love to know your predictions in the comments down below. Will Grosjean take that second Mercedes seat after an incredible test with them later on at the end of the year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. If you are new around here, feel free to subscribe. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.